Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to Words and Pictures for some more tag time. I've got a trio of tags from the shimmering video that we did the other day. I'll link it in the description below if you haven't seen that. And I just grabbed these three and I've mounted them onto some waste cardboard because I know that I'm going to want to use some maybe heavyweight embellishments. I've grabbed my jar of rusty things. These are just various bits of metal stuff, nails, a couple of bird cages, which were once shiny silver. They've been through a rusting process. You can do that just with vinegar and water and thyme in a jar. I sometimes add a little bit of PaperArtsy rusting powder. Just seeing if I've got some of that here that I can, yeah. That's the PaperArtsy rusting powder. That can help start off the process or can be used all by itself. We'll maybe have a look at some things with rusting powder at some point in the future. But if you want rusting techniques, they're everywhere. Just Google for how to rust metal embellishments. You'll find things on YouTube. You'll find instructions on blogs and websites. So have a look for those. I'm not going to do a video on rusting things because the information's out there. When I have done a rusting jar, I quite often hang on to the rusty water just to start off the next one. So that's just one little thing to think about in there. So I've got some of the labels we stamped in another video, which I've since painted with some quinacridone gold and some Payne's grey mixed in various liquid washes, and they might come into play. I've got a couple of stems of... They're scattering seeds everywhere. I haven't collected the seeds very effectively. These are grape hyacinth. If you allow them to dry on the stem, they might be a bit much. I haven't quite decided. I might revert to my usual Acrylic granny's bonnets, also known as columbine. We'll see. I don't know yet. I've got some glass beads. I've got some Tim Holtz Photobooth shots, both large size Photomatic and the usual ones. Normal size photo booth, and it's going to be some simple collaging today because that's what I'm in the mood for. And sort of I'm starting from those rusty nails because they're really calling out to me, which means I might want to bring in a little bit of inking from the edges just to create a bit more drawing of the eye inwards. Let's start maybe with good old vintage photo, walnut stain, maybe some rusty hinge, in which case I'll need both the brown sponge and the orangey sponge. I'm going to start with the vintage photo because it's always a good bet. Now that I'm up off the mat, because I've glued these to cardboard, I really am hitting the edge in a really nice way because the edge is sticking up. So that gives me a good hit of vintage photo, just creating a sort of rusty border to bring the eye in. I may or may not use another colour. I'm rather liking what the vintage photo is achieving here. So I'm coming in from the edge as ever. There are other inking videos here. There's one where I talk in great detail, which I can also pop in the description if you haven't seen it, where I do some inking with both distress inks and distress oxides and talk about all sorts of stuff. Yeah, we'll put that in the link in the description as well, if I remember to. But working from backgrounds you've already created just means that you've got a head start with whatever it is you want to play around with. I think I might experiment with a little touch of rusty hinge. My guess is it's going to go too orange for my liking and I'll need to, yeah, go over with some walnut stain. I'll just put a hint of that warmth on each of them so that it's there. But it's not where my brain wants to go this morning, so I'll swap back to my darker sponge and get some walnut stain into the mix. And I might draw that quite a long way across the tag in places. So these tags had a gesso, just some paint wiped onto the tags to start with before we ever got shimmery. So they've already got quite nice layers going on. I'm thinking I might do a bit of text stamping just to add detail to these backgrounds. So yeah, just a few layers of distress ink, as I say, principally to be drawing the eye inwards, but we can of course include a little bit of spritzing and flicking to give ourselves a bit more textural detail, and this will operate differently according to whether it happens to hit the ink over a painty bit or over a non-painty bit, because it'll soak into the bare card in a different way than it will soak into either painted card or shimmering card where it's got ink over. So a little bit of kitchen towel to just pick up those droplets of water. Yes, and it just gives us those lovely moments of mottled delight around the edges. Just an extra bit of textural playtime. Just going to wipe this ink up because if I move on to other things, I don't necessarily want to pick up more vintage photo ink. You can see at the moment, for the sake of argument, I'm sort of lined up so that the darker coloured one is in the middle, just the one with a bit more blue. That might shift, but I think to my mind, that's the pleasing version, is having that one in the centre. Right, might just grab a couple of text stamps and be back in a sec. Hello again. As you can see, things have taken a bit of a leap. Unfortunately, and I don't know how I managed to do this, I managed to switch between turning the video on and turning the video off. Long-time followers will know that that has happened once before, and I swore I would never let it happen again, and sadly today it happened. So I thought what I'd do is just quickly talk you through what I've been getting up to in the meantime, and then filming myself gluing things down that I told you didn't need to see, but I'm not going to show you the gluing it down. There's no need for it. So the first thing I did after the inking was eliminate using the large Photomatic. I just wanted a bit more space to play with the plants, particularly when I was thinking still in terms of using these. There really was no room left on the tag for anything else. In fact, I could do this on a blank tag so that you can get a better look at what I'm talking about. By the time you've got that and that, there's very little room for anything else to go on. So I eliminated using the large size Photomatic Photobooth pictures. My next decision was whittling down a short list of the smaller photos, and I was talking about how very often for me that's about colour tone of the photo. There are some sepia ones, there are some greyish ones, there are some yellowish ones. So this girl, although I loved her, is more of a sort of purpley blue grey, so she got eliminated. This guy, his head is in close-up, so he didn't quite fit. This girl had taken up residence. I just tried her out, and she was the one that caught my attention first of all, so I was working really from her. And so it was finding colour tones that fitted, and as you can see, he's just not in the same kind of focus, he's not in the same colour tone, and he's not in the same distance. So he went. And then the last little one I'd been looking at is this chap, who's brilliant, and he would work in a sort of rusty colour tone, but he was just a bit too cheeky, chirpy chappy for me today. I wasn't in that kind of mood. So yeah, it was positioning those, and then yes, I'm afraid I did decide that it wasn't going to be the hyacinths for today, the grape hyacinths. I got myself my bunch of Acrylic. This is one of many bunches of stems that I've got around the place. People ask me whether I do anything special to preserve these. No, I don't. I let them dry on the stalk in the garden, and then I just snip them all and I bung them into a big paper bag and keep them there until I'm ready. And yeah, I had a play just pulling out stems and working out the ones I wanted to use, balancing those with the rusty nail. And then I pulled out some Curator labels, both ready-made and some of the ones I have stamped and painted myself, and some number snippets as well, and had a little play with those. And again, that was about looking for colour tones that were going to work and using them to spread out from the photo. Oh look, I've forgotten one of these background details. I said when we left that I was going off to get text stamps, didn't I? And I did. My own set of PaperArtsy EAB 25, the Acorn edition, Alison Bomber Eclectica, Alison Bomber 25. And I was in the mood for some Shakespeare. So as you can see, I've done partial stampings of that Shakespeare text. And then there's also this rather beautiful school seal that is in various places giving us something round. And once I was sort of happy with my arrangement of labels, in fact we could put these away now, couldn't we? And I think I'm just going to keep these watercoloured ones in there in the same place. Number strips need to go in the number strips bag so that we can find things when we want them again. That stamping, text stamping, was done in a combination of sepia and coffee. So just both of them onto the stamp. And the last little thing, other than gluing things down, was I gave a little splatter of Distress Oxides in Salvaged Patina and in Broken China. So this tag in particular, because of where the collaging had gone, had covered up quite a lot of the blue Harlequin pattern. And so just to reinstall some blues into there. So I've now got this lovely contrast between some shimmering Harlequins and more opaque Distress Oxide splatter going on there. So the gluing, paper stuff was all done with my trusty Cosmic Shimmer acrylic glue. The rusty nails I've done with the super heavy gel. This is the one that is sort of peanut butter or cream cheese in consistency and is really great. And when you're gluing down both the natural objects and something like a nail, it's just a question of having a look as it's lying there, which are the bits that are in contact. So there's no point putting glue all the way up this bit of the nail because it's simply not in contact with any cards. There's a glob of glue down here, there's a glob of glue under the head behind there. Likewise with the plant stems, it's a question of looking and just kind of going, okay, this head is touching, this part of the stem is touching, and just noticing where that's going to go. For the glass globules, I love how you can see through those to the text or the stamping that's underneath. And I also love the spatters of Distress Oxide that have hit those as they go. Love how they catch the light. So for those, I glued those down with glossy accents. You can absolutely use an acrylic glue. Pretty much every white acrylic glue I've ever met does dry clear. This one does. But the glossy accents is clear already. So it just gives you the look of what you're going to get immediately. It's more than capable of gluing glass, of gluing metal, of all those kinds of things. So I said I was coming back for the final stages, and that's what you're now joining me for. Having missed out all the bits in between, I'm absolutely kicking myself. I had done lots of lovely chatting and musing about composition and making sure that the nails and the plants could play nicely together, and how when you're working with natural elements, you sometimes have to yield. You're not going to persuade this stem to bend in another direction than it wants to without breaking it. That's when nature breaks. In terms of fragility or in terms of longevity, the way to keep these natural elements working for you is to let them do what it is they want to do and not try and force them to do other things. For instance, if I try to press this stem downwards to meet there, it's going to snap. Now, arguably, in the long run, for storing it, it would be better if that was down to there. But alternatively, I could find myself a nice 3D frame, put them in that, and then that dimension will really work for us because it's going to leap out of the frame at us. So the final stages that I wanted to be doing with you and that you now hopefully are seeing, hopefully it's now recording, was to have a look at, I did initially hold a couple of smaller stems back, and I'm just wondering whether I want to add those to the mix in a couple of places to give a little bit of extra plant matter. I don't think that I do, because I want rusty wire around these bottom bits, so I think that's going to be what takes some focus around here. Yeah, it's that. But of course, I haven't yet got, other than William Shakespeare, I haven't got any words on here yet, so I'm just debating between some metal Idea-ology things or some of these small talk stickers. And if it's the small talk stickers, is it white or black? And I think the simplest way to find out is going to be to lie a white sticker down. I don't think it's that. I think it's going to be black ones. Let's have a look at where the black ones start. You can see I take things on, put things back on, take things off, try them, put things back on. For the most part, they don't go missing. But if the odd word sticker goes missing, you've still got plenty left to play with. And now let's have a look at a black one just lying down here. Start doing things you love. In fact, I quite like that one as a... Oh, look. So we're going to need to do a little bit of trimming because that's not going to fit beside the nail. But maybe on this tag it could go below the nail. Start doing things you love. There she is. Okay, short ones. With brave wings she flies. If we're using that, it would have to be her because he's not a she by the looks of things. Although one should never make these judgments. You can never have too much. I think I've probably chopped the word happy off there. You can never have too much either. Look on the bright side. Well, that's always a nice thought. Let's see what that looks like on his tag. Popping all over the place. Look on the bright side, just under Shakespeare. Well, that's quite nice. So maybe we move hers down a little bit so that there's a little bit of movement going on. Start doing things you love. I might shift these in a minute. And hers is going to have to be sort of there and quite short or cut into 2 lines. Let's see. Let it go. Best day ever. That's short. I love us. Forever is composed of now. Be your beautiful self. See, I like that. Today is a good day. Live your life. Okay. Let's just go with live your life in there. Nice. Start doing things you love. Look on the bright side. See, and those tell quite a nice story between them. Live your life. Start doing things you love. Look on the bright side. I think that's a pretty good set of thoughts. And for this, I think I am going to give them a bit of extra glue. They're stickers, so they are sticky, but they're sometimes not very sticky, particularly after I've pulled them out of the book and put them back in several times. So that's one there. One quite low down. It's just a little bit of extra glue. It doesn't need much because, as I say, they do have a little bit of their own adhering power. I like that down there, actually. I like that little thought kind of at the bottom of the tag. Not quite straight. Go on, be straight. See, maybe my phone knew what it was doing. There was a whole bit I've just remembered where I was talking about perfectionism and owning up to my particular kind of perfectionism, as evidenced by the choice of the photos and needing the right colour tones, needing them to look in various directions. Yeah, so I had one that was the right colour tone, lovely photo, but it was looking in the same direction as this girl, and it just wasn't working to have 2 of them looking in that direction. So yes, I do have elements of perfectionism in what I'm doing, but they're not about straight lines or perfect stamped images or any of that. There we go. So in terms of rusty wire, I think hers is going to go right along the bottom of the photo there. His could go along, maybe the rusty wire all has to go along the bottoms of the photos, and that would give us 3 different heights of rusty wire immediately. It's quite a good idea with rusty wire to work with gloves. I'm afraid I'm naughty and I rarely do. So I hope the glue is now dry enough on this rusty wire, on these rusty nails, to allow me to wrap the rusty wire around without causing chaos. I might cut to the right length first. So once, twice, approximately 3 times. That should be enough to go front and back. So let's cut 3 of those so that we're ready to go. 1, 2, 3. In terms of rusty wire availability, I'm afraid, again, you're just going to have to do some Googling. The supplier I used to get mine from is no longer in operation. I thankfully have quite a lot to carry on playing with, and I get more each year because I use plain uncoated garden wire to wrap up to support my sweet peas and my actual peas and all of that. And by the end of the season, I wind up with a bunch more rusty wire. So again, it's something you can create yourself. Just get some plain garden wire. No good if it's coated, that's not going to work. And leave it out in the rain for a season. The rain and the wind and the snow and the sun. And in a year's time, you'll have some rusty wire. There are also, though, craft outlets that do supply ready rusted wire in various gauges, and again that depends what you prefer. I can't remember if this is 20 or 25, but I've got some of each. I've got various thicknesses of rusty wire, and I like all of them for different jobs. So again, it's a question of you're just going to have to buy some of each probably and work out which are the ones that appeal to you. And I'm just going to give it a little twist. I'm liking the random ends. I like the messiness of that. I like that it's perched just near the photo and just near the ball of glass. Hers is not going to be near the ball of glass, but it is going to be beautifully around that stem. So again, hoping that things are dry enough and sturdy enough for me to be able to do this now. Round it goes, round again, around again. And that one's a little shorter, but it's fine. Again, I'm going to twist just to hold it. And then I've got beautiful bits just going off in various directions. And that's quite good because hers is lower down. If his had such long pieces, they wouldn't have really anywhere to go without covering up his face. And then finally, Live Your Life Girl over here. There she is. So let's start with that one. Oh, that nail just moved, but we're about to give it some extra support, remember, because this rusty wire is not just decorative, it is actually going to do a job of holding things in place. So even if that rusty nail decides it wants to go walkabout, it's going to find that a little bit difficult. There we go. And again, just a little twist. Do be careful, you don't want to be doing this if you've got any cuts or grazes. You don't want to get the rust caught into the bloodstream is the main thing to try to avoid, really, when using rusty wire. I think we want that one sort of going off in that direction. Lovely, I love that. And you can see that those are now, because of the rusty wire behind, those are now no longer willing to lie flat. So it is going to be a question probably of mounting them in a frame. And then I'll be able to use something behind, not one of these because that would be a waste, but anything else to just allow them to sit flat. It will be a question of layering up. Probably little bits of cut up cardboard is what I mostly use for that, so that you can get your tags lying flat again. But I think we're pretty much there. I'm going to zoom in for a close-up, as always, let you have a look at some of that dimensional collaging, just creating joy. I'll probably add a little bit of twine into the tops of all of those. But even though you missed the bulk of it actually happening, I hope that you can follow along in similar sorts of ways. There are other collaging videos around on the channel where I talk about these principles of poetic variation. So the same elements, but in slightly different positions, similar elements, but in slightly different color tones, in slightly different shapings, in different positions, in different formations. So where they've got their long strip below the photo, her long number strip is above the photo, and it's just that delicious balancing act that gets you 3 tags or 2 tags or 4 tags or panels or postcards. They're going to operate in harmony with one another, speak to one another, let the eye and the imagination go on a journey as it moves across and around the composition. Live your life, start doing things you love, look on the bright side. So apologies for the filming disaster today. But I hope the filling in is enough for you to make your way towards some kind of tag playtime. It's tag time. You can do them in any way you choose. The key thing is to make sure you get to your craft supplies and use them. Get them up and running. Have a play, have a stamp, have a splatter, and have some fun. Thanks so much for your company. Thank you for watching. As always, leave comments down below. I will try to leave as much information as possible in the description below the video, and hang around to see these tags in a beautiful musical close-up. Thanks so much for watching, and happy crafting all.